I buried my daughter alone while my family celebrated across town. My hands were trembling as I shoveled the last heap of soil over the little coffin, tears burning my eyes so much I could barely see. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a text from my sister. I wiped my muddy fingers on my dress and unlocked it. Her words made my heart stop. "Stop the drama. We need to talk urgently. She wants to use your dead son's $200,000 trust fund for her daughter's wedding." I froze. My chest tightened. They were talking about my son's money. The money he never lived to use, and they wanted to throw it away like confetti. But what they didn't know was that I was already planning something that would change everything. That was the moment I knew. This story was no longer just about grief. It was about betrayal, family greed, and a secret I was willing to die with. But before I continue, let me introduce myself properly. My name is Sarah. I am 42 years old, and I am speaking to you from Houston, Texas. Please, before I go on, make sure you subscribe, like this story, and click the notification button for more upcoming interesting stories. I would also love to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city or state in the comments below. Now let me take you back to how all this began. It was supposed to be a day of mourning, a day when my family would rally around me after the sudden death of my daughter, Emma. But instead, I stood alone in the cemetery, rain soaking through my black dress, mud splashing my legs as the small coffin went down. The silence was deafening. No prayers, no comforting hugs, no family voices. Just the hollow thud of dirt hitting the wooden lid. Across town, my family was celebrating. They were at a birthday party for my cousin's daughter, laughing, dancing, and posting selfies on social media, while my world was crumbling. The betrayal cut deeper than the grief. How could they value a party over my child's final goodbye? The truth is, my family had always been divided. My sister, Anna, was the center of everything. Whatever Anna wanted, everyone bowed to. And right now, she wanted my son's trust fund. That money was left after his accident 3 years ago, meant to honor his memory, not to pay for her daughter's extravagant wedding. But here's the thing. I had not told them the whole story about that money. They thought it was untouched, sitting safely in the bank. But I had already made my own plans with it, plans that no one knew about. As I stood over my daughter's grave that day, the storm above matching the storm inside me, I realized I could no longer stay silent. My family's greed had reached its peak. And if they wanted war, then war was what they would get. I remember clutching my phone tighter as the messages kept coming in. Anna wasn't just asking, she was demanding. Her words dripped with entitlement. "You don't need it anymore. Stop acting selfish. Family comes first." Family. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. What kind of family abandons a grieving mother to bury her child alone? What kind of sister laughs at a party while I lay flowers on a child's grave? But they didn't know what I was planning. And that night, when I finally got home, soaked and shivering, I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at the box hidden under my floorboards. Inside it was something that would change everything. Something my sister could never have, no matter how much she begged, manipulated, or threatened. I smiled through my tears. They thought they had outsmarted me. But the truth was, I had been preparing for this day long before Emma's death. And that was when I decided, if they wanted my son's trust fund, they would have to pay a price they weren't ready for. But just as I made up my mind, something happened that very night that pushed everything over the edge. That night, after I buried my daughter and returned home, the house felt like a coffin of its own. Dark, silent, heavy with grief. I sat on the edge of my bed with Emma's picture in my hands, her smiling face mocking the reality that I would never hear her laugh again. My tears blurred her image until all I could see was a smear of color. But I wasn't allowed to cry for long. My phone lit up again. Another message from Anna. "Stop ignoring me, Sarah. The wedding is in 2 months. We need the money now." I dropped the phone on the bed like it burned me. My head pounded. My heart raced. They hadn't even asked about the burial, hadn't called to check if I made it home safely in the storm. All they cared about was the $200,000. I forced myself to stand and walk to the corner of the room where an old rug covered a loose floorboard. My fingers traced the edges of the wood until it lifted. Beneath it was the metal box. Cold, heavy, untouched for years. Inside were documents, bank statements, and a letter my son Matthew had written before he died. He was only 16 when the car crash took him, but he had dreams bigger than anyone in the family ever imagined. He wanted to be a doctor. He wanted to build a hospital in our neighborhood so kids like him could have free health care. That was his dream. That's why the trust fund was created, to carry his vision forward. And now Anna wanted to use it to pay for flowers, food, and a fancy dress for her spoiled daughter's wedding. As I sat there staring at Matthew's handwriting, I made a silent promise. No one will touch this money. Not while I'm alive. I thought the night couldn't get any worse, but then it did. Around midnight, just as I was drifting into a restless sleep, I heard it knocking. Slow, deliberate knocks at my front door. My stomach twisted. Nobody visited me this late. Nobody ever visited at all. I grabbed a robe and walked to the door, my heart thudding with every step. Through the peephole I saw a shadow. Tall. Still. Watching. Who's there? I whispered. No answer. Just silence. I backed away, clutching my chest. Then the knocking came again, harder this time. Fear clawed up my throat. My first thought was Anna. Had she sent someone? Was this about the money already? I didn't open the door. I couldn't. Instead, I crept back to my room, locked the door, and sat with my back against it, clutching Matthew's letter in my hands. The knocking eventually stopped, but I didn't sleep at all that night. By morning, the world outside looked normal. Birds chirped. Cars drove past. But inside me, something had shifted. That knock wasn't random. Someone wanted me afraid. Someone wanted me to give in. Later that day, I drove to the cemetery again. Emma's grave was fresh, the dirt still damp. I knelt there, whispering prayers, when my phone buzzed once more. This time it was my cousin Lisa. Sarah. Her voice shook when I picked up. You need to be careful. I overheard Anna talking last night at the party. She said if you don't hand over the trust fund, they'll take it from you another way. I froze. What do you mean, another way? She didn't say exactly, Lisa whispered. But she wasn't joking. Please watch your back. The line went dead. My blood turned cold. They were plotting against me while I buried my child. The betrayal sank deeper than ever before. I drove home shaking, my mind racing. I thought about calling the police, but what would I say? That my sister wanted to steal money? They'd laugh. Family disputes weren't crimes. And besides, I didn't have proof. But I had something else, anger. An anger I realized could be a weapon sharper than any knife. That night I began writing in a notebook. Every message, every phone call, every whisper of threat, I documented it. If they were going to come after me, I would make sure the truth came out. But while I was plotting my defense, something unexpected happened. 3 days after the funeral, Anna herself showed up at my house. She didn't knock politely. She pounded on the door until I opened it. She wore a bright red dress, makeup perfectly done, as if she were attending a party, not visiting her grieving sister. Sarah, she said sharply, pushing her way in. We need to talk. Enough is enough. I stepped back, stunned by her audacity. You didn't come to Emma's burial, Anna. And now you come here for money. Her eyes rolled like I was a child. You're being dramatic again. Look, my daughter is getting married. This is a big moment for our family. The money isn't doing anything, just sitting in the bank. At least let it bring joy instead of gathering dust. My voice trembled, but I didn't back down. That money belongs to Matthew. It's all I have left of him. I won't let you waste it on a party. Her face twisted into something I had never seen before. Pure rage. Don't be selfish, Sarah. You don't even have children anymore. What do you need the money for? I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw her out. But instead I looked her straight in the eyes and whispered, if you touch that money, you'll regret it. Anna's smirk didn't fade. She leaned in close, her perfume choking me. Then I guess you'll have to stop me. With that, she turned on her heels and left, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. I stood there, trembling, the silence after her departure heavier than before. That night I couldn't sleep again. Every creak in the house, every shadow on the wall, I thought it was Anna or someone she sent. My nerves were raw, my grief tangled with paranoia. But what happened next proved that my paranoia wasn't paranoia at all. Because the very next evening, I returned home from buying groceries and found my front door wide open. The box under my floorboard had been dragged out. The contents spilled across the floor. And the letter from Matthew gone. I froze in the doorway, my grocery bag slipping from my hands and hitting the floor with a dull thud. The smell of broken wood and dust filled the air. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear myself breathe. The rug was pushed aside. The floorboard yanked up. The metal box dragged halfway across the room. Its contents, bank statements, documents, photographs, were scattered like a storm had blown through. And the letter. Matthew's letter. Gone. I rushed forward, dropping to my knees, pawing through the papers. My fingers trembled as I searched, my breath coming in short gasps. But it wasn't there. The one piece of him that could never be replaced, the words he wrote in his own handwriting, stolen. No, no, no. My voice cracked into the empty room. Please, not that. Tears blurred my vision, but anger burned hotter than the grief. Someone had been inside my house. Someone had touched my son's memory. And I knew exactly who. Anna. Who else would know what to look for? Who else would want the documents? Who else had just threatened me to my face? I picked up the box, shoved everything back inside, and pushed it under the floorboard again. Then I locked every window, every door, and sat in the middle of the room with a kitchen knife clutched in my hand. For hours I waited, my ears straining at every sound, my eyes darting to every corner. But nobody came back that night. By morning, exhaustion dragged me down. My eyes burned. My hands shook. But I couldn't let fear paralyze me. I had to fight back. I drove straight to Anna's house. Her mansion stood tall and smug in the morning sun, white walls gleaming, her expensive car parked in the driveway. I banged on the door until she appeared, still in a silk robe, holding a coffee mug like she didn't have a care in the world. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her tone sharp. I shoved past her into the living room. "Where is it?" She frowned. "Where's what?" "The letter. Matthew's letter. You broke into my house last night, didn't you?" Her eyes widened just slightly. Enough for me to see the flicker of guilt before she masked it with a laugh. "Are you insane? I don't have time to play detective games with you." I stepped closer, my voice trembling but fierce. "That letter was all I had left of my son. If you touched it, if you took it, you'll wish you hadn't." Anna sipped her coffee calmly, her eyes never leaving mine. "Sarah, you need help. You've always been too emotional, too dramatic. Maybe grief has pushed you over the edge." Her words cut deep, but I refused to let her see me break. I stormed out before my rage exploded into something I couldn't take back. But as I reached my car, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. In the trash bin by her driveway, half buried under discarded newspapers, was a torn piece of paper. I bent down, my fingers shaking as I pulled it out. It was part of Matthew's letter. My vision blurred with rage. She had destroyed it, torn apart the last piece of my boy's voice. I crumpled the fragment in my fist and swore to myself, Anna would pay. The next few days became a war. She sent me more messages demanding the trust fund, mocking me, telling me to stop acting like a victim. I ignored her, but every time I checked my house I felt watched. At night I heard noises outside, footsteps, whispers, even the sound of my gate creaking open. I stayed awake with the knife by my side, too afraid to close my eyes. But then, in the middle of this madness, something unexpected happened. My cousin Lisa showed up at my door again. She looked nervous, her eyes darting around as if someone had followed her. "Sarah," she whispered, stepping inside quickly. "I shouldn't be here, but you need to know what Anna's planning." I shut the door behind her. "Tell me." Lisa's hand shook as she clutched her purse. "She's meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. She wants to claim that since you're mentally unstable, she should be given control of the trust fund." I felt the air leave my lungs. Mentally unstable? She's already telling people you're losing your mind, that you're paranoid, that you're dangerous. Lisa's voice broke. "Sarah, if she convinces the court, you'll lose everything." I staggered back, gripping the wall for balance. Not only was Anna trying to steal my son's money, she was trying to erase me entirely. I wanted to scream, to cry, to collapse. But instead I looked Lisa in the eyes and whispered, "Then I'll have to show her what unstable really looks like." The next morning I dressed in black and drove downtown. I parked across from the law office Anna was visiting and waited. When she arrived, strutting in her high heels, I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. She disappeared inside with her smug smile, and I sat there for hours, anger boiling in my veins. When she finally came out, laughing into her phone, I started the car and followed her. I told myself it was just to see where she was going, to know what she was planning. But deep down I knew it was more. I wanted her to feel the same fear she had planted in me. She drove to a cafe, sat outside sipping wine, laughing with friends. The sight of her enjoying life while mine was shattered made me shake with rage. I gripped my phone, opened the camera and started recording. I wanted evidence of her lies, proof of her cruelty. But then something strange happened. One of her friends leaned in and whispered something. Anna froze for a second, her smile slipping. Then she glanced around nervously. Her eyes swept over the street and landed right on me. Our gazes locked. Her smile returned, sharper this time. She raised her glass to me like a toast, as if to say, I see you. And you can't touch me. I drove away before my fury consumed me, my chest burning like fire. That night I couldn't sleep again. Every corner of the room felt like a trap. Every shadow looked like Anna's hand reaching for me. But just as I thought I couldn't take any more, just as I thought I would collapse under the weight of grief and rage, something happened that changed everything. It was past midnight when my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I opened it and my blood turned to ice. It was a photo. A photo of Emma's grave. Fresh flowers laid on it. A note stuck in the dirt. The note read, "You're next." The glow from my phone lit up my trembling hands as I stared at the photo. My daughter's grave. Fresh flowers laid carefully on the soil. A note stabbed into the ground. "You're next." The words swam before my eyes as if they were alive. My chest tightened. My throat closed. For a moment I couldn't breathe. I dropped the phone onto the bed as though it had burned me. My mind raced. Who had been there? Who would dare disturb Emma's grave just to scare me? I didn't need to ask. I knew. Anna. But how far was she willing to go? I leapt from the bed, pacing the floor with both hands pressed to my temples. Calm down, Sarah. Think. Think. But no matter how I tried to reason, the truth smacked me in the face. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was war. I couldn't sit in that house another second. Grabbing my keys, I drove straight to the cemetery in the middle of the night. The roads were empty, the streetlights buzzing faintly like dying insects. My headlights cut through the fog, my heartbeat pounding with every turn of the wheel. When I pulled up at the gates, the cemetery was silent, still eerie. I got out, my shoes crunching against gravel, and walked straight to Emma's grave. The flowers were there. White roses. Fresh. Not mine. And the note. It was stuck deep in the soil, the paper flapping slightly in the cold night breeze. My hand shook as I pulled it free. The same message written in bold black ink. You're next. A noise behind me made me spin. Footsteps. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. The darkness stretched out endlessly, shadows shifting between the gravestones. Who's there? My voice cracked. No answer. Just the faint rustle of leaves. My skin prickled with goosebumps. I could feel eyes on me. Watching. Waiting. I didn't wait to find out who it was. I ran. Sprinting back to my car, fumbling with the keys, locking the doors the second I was inside. My hands shook so badly I almost couldn't start the engine. I tore away from the cemetery, my chest heaving, my mind screaming. This wasn't just intimidation. This was a threat. Whoever left that note wanted me terrified, broken. They wanted me to know I was vulnerable, that I could be touched, just like Emma's grave had been touched. But instead of breaking me, it sparked something else inside me. Rage. I slammed my hands on the steering wheel, tears of fury spilling down my face. No more. No more, Anna. I knew what I had to do. If Anna wanted to play dirty, then so would I. The next morning I went to the police. I showed them the photo. I told them about the break-in. I told them about the threats. But the officer just leaned back in his chair, unimpressed. Do you have any proof your sister sent this? He asked. I clenched my fists. Who else would it be? She's been harassing me for weeks, demanding money that isn't hers. The officer sighed. Ma'am, families fight over money all the time. Without solid evidence, there's not much we can do. If you feel unsafe, you could consider changing your locks, maybe even moving temporarily. I stared at him in disbelief. My world was collapsing, and all he offered was new locks? I left the station boiling with frustration. Nobody was going to help me. Not the police. Not my family. Not anyone. I was on my own. That night, I pulled out Matthew's trust documents again. I stared at the numbers, the signatures, the promise of his dream. If I didn't act fast, Anna would destroy everything he stood for. So I made a decision. I would move the money. I would take it out of the trust account, transfer it somewhere Anna could never reach it. Somewhere secret. But just as I sat at my desk, paper spread around me, my phone buzzed again. Another message from that same unknown number. This time it wasn't a photo. It was a video. My hands shook as I pressed play. The video was dark, shaky, like it was filmed secretly. But I recognized the place immediately. My house. My living room. And the camera panned directly to the floorboard where the box was hidden. The video ended there. I dropped the phone. My stomach turned to ice. They had been inside my house again. Watching me. Recording me. I stumbled backward, my chest heaving. Oh God, oh God. Panic clawed at me, but beneath it, rage burned hotter than ever. They weren't just threatening me. They were taunting me. And that meant they were close. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the window with the knife in my lap, staring into the darkness, waiting. Every sound outside made me flinch. Every car that passed made my heart race. But dawn came, and I was still alive. I thought maybe, just maybe they were done. Until I checked my mailbox. Inside was another envelope. No stamp. No return address. Just my name scrawled across the front. With trembling hands, I tore it open. Inside was a single photograph. This time it wasn't Emma's grave. It was me, taken from outside my window, while I sat clutching the knife. And on the back, written in the same bold black ink, "We're watching." I collapsed onto the porch steps, the photo slipping from my fingers. My vision blurred with tears, my body trembling uncontrollably. They weren't just threatening me anymore. They were stalking me, studying me, tracking my every move. And suddenly, a terrifying thought struck me. What if it wasn't just Anna? What if she wasn't working alone? The messages, the photos, the break-in, the grave. This was bigger than just one sister's greed. Someone else was involved. Someone who knew my house, my habits, my pain. But who? The thought gnawed at me as the sun dipped below the horizon again. I locked every door, every window, every possible entry. Still, I felt the weight of unseen eyes pressing against me. I tried to convince myself I was safe inside, but deep down I knew the truth. If they could reach into my daughter's grave, into my house, into my very life, then nowhere was safe. I sat in the dark, clutching the knife, when suddenly, crash, the sound of glass shattering from the back of the house. My heart stopped. Someone was inside. Crash. The sound ripped through the silence of the house like a gunshot. My body froze, knife clutched tight in my trembling hands. My ears rang with the echo of breaking glass from the kitchen window. Someone was inside. For a second, my legs wouldn't move. My breath came in shallow bursts, my heart pounding so loud I thought it would give me away. I pressed myself against the wall, straining to listen. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. Heavy enough to be deliberate. They weren't rushing. They weren't afraid. Whoever it was, they wanted me to know they were there. My mind raced. Should I run? Should I fight? Should I call the police again? The same police who already dismissed me? The footsteps grew closer. I tightened my grip on the knife and forced myself toward the hallway. My palms were slick with sweat. Every creak of the floor beneath me felt like a betrayal, warning them of my position. Sarah. A voice. A man's voice. Low. Drawn out. Mocking. I nearly dropped the knife. He knew my name. Sarah. The voice came again, this time closer, echoing through the house like a nightmare. Come out. We only want to talk. My stomach twisted. My whole body screamed run, but my feet carried me instead to the closet at the end of the hall. I slipped inside, shutting the door as quietly as I could, clutching the knife to my chest. The floorboards groaned under his weight as he moved through the living room. Then silence. Silence so heavy I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. I held my breath. Seconds stretched like hours. Then, the closet handle rattled. My heart stopped. My grip on the knife tightened until my knuckles turned white. I pressed my back against the wall, tears burning my eyes. The handle rattled again, harder this time. A laugh followed. Cold, cruel. And then just as suddenly it stopped. Footsteps retreated down the hall. Then the sound of the front door opening and closing. Silence. I stayed frozen in the closet for what felt like an eternity, my body shaking uncontrollably, until I finally dared to crack the door open. The house was empty. The broken glass glittered on the kitchen floor. The night outside was still. But I knew this wasn't over. Whoever that man was, he knew my name. He had been inside my house, standing just inches from me. And the worst part, he didn't take anything. He wasn't after the money. He was after me. I stood in the wreckage of my kitchen, the night air rushing in through the shattered window, carrying the faint smell of blood. Though there was none. My hands still clutched the knife, but my strength was gone. I sank into a chair, my body trembling as though I'd just survived a car crash. The man had been in my house. He'd spoken my name. He'd touched my door handle. He could have ended me right then, but he didn't. That terrified me more than anything, because it meant he wasn't finished. I sat there until dawn, unable to close my eyes, unable to move. My phone sat in front of me, but I didn't call the police. What would I say? That a man broke in, whispered my name, and left without touching a thing? They'd think I was delusional, just like Anna wanted them to. When the sun rose, the light did nothing to ease the fear clamped around my chest. I swept the glass into a pile, taped a piece of cardboard over the broken window, and made myself a cup of coffee I couldn't even drink. My hands shook so badly the cup clattered against the saucer. I kept asking myself, why didn't he hurt me? Why didn't he take anything? And then the answer came, chilling me to the core. Because this wasn't a robbery. This wasn't even about the trust fund anymore. This was a game. And I was the prey. By mid-morning, exhaustion dragged at my body, but I forced myself to stay alert. I needed answers. If Anna was behind this, if she was working with someone, I had to know. So I drove to her house again. When she opened the door, her expression was smug, as if she'd been waiting for me. Well, well, she said, leaning against the frame. You look like you haven't slept in weeks. I pushed past her into the living room. Who was he? I demanded. She frowned, though her eyes glittered. Who was who? The man you sent to my house last night. He knew my name. He broke in. He left a message. Anna laughed, a sharp, cutting sound. Sarah, listen to yourself. You sound insane. Stop it. My voice cracked, raw with exhaustion. Stop pretending. You've already taken Matthew's letter. You've already desecrated Emma's grave. How far will you go? For the first time, Anna's smile faltered. She glanced toward the hallway, then back at me. I don't know what you're talking about. Her voice was too calm, too controlled. It wasn't denial. It was performance. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. If you want the money so badly, take me to court. But stop sending people into my home. Stop threatening me. She met my eyes with a coldness that made my blood freeze. Maybe you should stop making enemies you can't fight. It wasn't a confession, but it was close enough. I stormed out, fury and fear battling inside me. Every bone in my body screamed that she wasn't alone in this. She had help. And whoever that man was, he wasn't finished with me yet. The following days were a blur of paranoia. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Every noise outside made me jump. Every shadow stretched too long. And then the messages started again. The same unknown number. How did you sleep last night? Did you like the roses on Emma's grave? You look good in that blue sweater. The last one made my blood run cold. Because I had worn a blue sweater that very day, while taking the trash out. Someone was watching me in real time. I ran through the house, yanking curtains closed, locking every door again, but it didn't matter. Whoever they were close. Too close. That night, I finally broke. I sat on my bed clutching Matthew's photograph, whispering through my tears, "Please, baby, give me strength. Help me fight them." But strength didn't come. Instead, something else did. Another crash. This time not glass. Not a window. The front door. Splintering open. I jumped to my feet, heart slamming against my ribs, knife in hand again. Sarah. The man's voice drifted through the house, low and taunting, just like before. You can't hide forever. My legs moved before my brain caught up. I sprinted down the hall, darting into the bathroom, slamming the door shut behind me. My fingers fumbled with the lock, twisting it into place just as heavy footsteps pounded closer. The handle rattled. Hard. I pressed my back against the door, knife raised, tears streaming down my face. Come out, Sarah, he whispered through the wood. I just want to talk. Leave me alone. I screamed, my voice breaking. I'll kill you if you come in. A low laugh. Then silence. I held my breath, my whole body trembling. For several minutes, nothing happened. No footsteps. No voice. Just silence. Then bang. The door shuttered under the force of a kick. I screamed. Another bang. The wood cracked. Another bang. The frame splintered. And then the door burst open. The man filled the doorway, a mask covering his face, his eyes glinting in the dim light. He stepped inside slowly, deliberately, blocking every escape. I raised the knife, my arm shaking violently, my voice a hoarse whisper. Stay away from me. He smiled beneath the mask. And then he lunged. He lunged and I slashed. The knife caught his arm, slicing through fabric and skin. He grunted, jerking back, but not enough to stop him. His shoulder slammed into me, knocking me against the cold bathroom tiles. My head smacked the wall, stars exploding across my vision. I kicked out wildly, my foot connecting with his shin. He stumbled, cursing, then grabbed for the knife. I twisted, clutching it with both hands, refusing to let go. You're stronger than I thought, he growled, his voice muffled behind the mask. Adrenaline surged through me, giving me strength I didn't know I had. I shoved the knife upward, the blade grazing his cheek. He hissed, blood spotting the mask. For a moment we froze, his breathing ragged, mine frantic. His eyes locked on mine. Cold. Calculating. Then without warning he bolted. He darted out of the bathroom, pounding down the hallway, and in seconds, the front door slammed shut. Silence swallowed the house once more. I collapsed onto the bathroom floor, the knife slipping from my trembling fingers. My chest heaved with sobs, my entire body shaking so violently I thought I might break apart. Why did he run? Why didn't he finish what he started? And then the truth hit me like ice water. Because he didn't come to kill me. He came to scare me, to break me, to wear me down until I gave up. I stumbled to my feet, clutching the sink for balance, staring at my pale, bloodless reflection in the mirror. My hair was wild, my eyes swollen, my lips trembling. I barely recognized the woman staring back. Get it together, Sarah, I whispered. You can't let them win. I cleaned the blood off my hands and checked the cut on my attacker's arm. It had left a streak on the floor. Proof. Evidence. My first small victory. But even as I thought it, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Another message. This time a single sentence. Next time you won't be so lucky. My stomach churned. My hand shook as I stared at the glowing screen. They weren't stopping. They were escalating. I wanted to call the police again, to beg them to help me, but I knew what would happen. They'd dismiss me, tell me I was paranoid, maybe even suggest I check into a hospital. Exactly the story Anna was spinning behind my back. No, I couldn't rely on anyone. If they wanted me broken, they would find out just how unbreakable I could be. I locked the house again, this time dragging furniture against the doors, blocking every possible entrance. Then I sat in the middle of the living room floor with the knife in my lap, waiting, listening, daring them to come back. But hours passed. Dawn broke. And the house remained quiet. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. And as the first rays of sunlight streamed through the window, I realized something chilling. The intruder had left behind more than just fear. On my coffee table, where I knew there had been nothing the night before, sat a folded piece of paper. I reached for it with trembling fingers and opened it slowly. Inside, scrawled in bold letters, were 4 words that turned my blood to ice. We know your secret. We know your secret. The words stared back at me, bold and jagged. as though written in a rush but with purpose. My heart hammered so hard the paper trembled in my hands. What secret? I sank onto the couch, the knife still clutched in my other hand, the note burning into my skin like fire. My mind raced through every corner of my life, every skeleton hidden in my past. But only one stood out. The trust fund. They knew. Not just that the money existed, everyone in the family knew that. But they knew the part one had never told anyone. The part one had buried as deep as Emma and Matthew. That money wasn't untouched. I had moved part of it. I had hidden it away under another name, another account, to protect it from greedy hands like Anna's. If they knew that secret, then they knew more than they should. My stomach turned. What else do they know? I grabbed my phone and dialed Lisa. She answered on the second ring, her voice tight and nervous. Sarah? Why are you calling so early? Someone was in my house again. I blurted, my voice shaking. They left a note. They know about the trust fund. They know about everything. Silence. Lisa. Finally her voice came, barely above a whisper. Then you need to be careful what you say. Because if they know that, Sarah, they might know even more. Her words sliced through me. My throat closed. What are you saying? More about what? But she hung up before I could get an answer. I sat there in stunned silence, the dial tone ringing in my ears. Lisa knew something. Something she wasn't telling me. The walls felt like they were closing in. I couldn't stay in that house anymore. Not with the broken glass still glinting on the kitchen floor. Not with that note taunting me from the table. So I packed a bag. A change of clothes. My documents. Matthew's photo. Emma's toy bear. And of course the knife. I locked the door behind me and drove without thinking, just pressing the gas until I was miles from home. I ended up in a cheap roadside motel, the kind with buzzing neon signs and peeling paint, the kind where nobody asks questions. Inside I sat on the bed, staring at the note again. We know your secret. The words echoed in my head until they weren't just words anymore. They were voices. Anna's laugh. The man's whisper. Lisa's warning. Sleep wouldn't come. My mind kept replaying the intruder's eyes, cold and calculating. The way he'd lunged at me. The way he'd run, as if leaving me alive was part of the plan. At some point I must have dozed off because I woke to the shrill buzz of my phone. Another message from the unknown number. This time it wasn't words. It was a photo. Of me. Sleeping in the motel bed. My blood ran cold. My hand shook so badly I dropped the phone. They had followed me. They had been inside this room while I slept. I jumped up, frantically checking the locks, the windows, the bathroom. Empty. Silent. But the photo proved it. They were always one step ahead of me. I collapsed against the wall, clutching my chest as panic swallowed me whole. Why? Why are you doing this to me? I sobbed into the emptiness. And then, as if in answer, the phone buzzed again. This time it was a video. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the screen. Every instinct screaming not to press play. But I did. The video was dark, shaky, just like the one taken in my living room. But this time the camera pointed at someone else. Anna. She was sitting at a table, laughing, sipping wine, her voice clear. She'll break soon. Anna was saying. She can't handle this. Once she cracks, the money will be ours. My breath caught. My chest burned with rage. It was her. She wasn't just behind this. She was orchestrating it. I threw the phone across the room. My scream ripping out of me like an animal's. You won't win, Anna. I swear you won't win. But the rage didn't ease. It grew. And with it, a dangerous thought crept into my mind. If the law wouldn't protect me, if nobody else believed me, then I had only one choice. I had to protect myself. I had to fight back. That night, I drove back home. My hands gripped the wheel so tight I could feel my nails digging into my palms. The house loomed in the distance, dark and quiet, as if waiting for me. I parked a block away and approached on foot, crouching low, every nerve in my body alive with fear and fury. The front door was still barricaded with furniture, untouched. But I didn't go inside. Instead, I circled around the back, searching for signs. That's when I saw them. Footprints in the mud beneath the broken window. Fresh. Leading away into the woods behind the house. I followed. Branches scratched my arms. Shadows stretched long across the trees. the silence broken only by the crunch of leaves beneath my shoes. My heart thundered, my breath came fast, but I didn't stop. The footprints led to a small clearing. And in that clearing, a campsite, a tent, a chair, a lantern still flickering faintly, and on the chair, sitting in plain sight, was Emma's toy bear. My knees buckled. My vision swam. They had been living here, watching me, so close I could have walked past 100 times and never known. I staggered forward, my hand trembling as I reached for the bear. Its fur was dirty, matted with mud, but I recognized it instantly. The one she had slept with every night. The one I had packed into my bag before I left the house. I dropped it in horror, because if it was here, that meant someone had taken it out of my bag. Someone had been in the motel room. Someone had been closer to me than I ever imagined. And then I heard it. The crunch of leaves behind me. I spun around, the knife clutched in my hand again. My breath caught in my throat. A shadow moved at the edge of the clearing. Then a voice. "Sarah, you shouldn't have come here. Sarah, you shouldn't have come here." The voice froze me in place. It wasn't the intruder's low growl. It wasn't Anna's sharp tone. It was Lisa. She stepped into the clearing, her face half lit by the lantern's glow. Her hands were raised slightly, as though she didn't want to scare me. But her eyes weren't the Lisa I knew. They were hard shadowed, carrying secrets she'd buried too long. "Lisa." My voice cracked. What are you doing here?" She sighed, glancing around the campsite. "I told you to be careful what you said. You didn't listen." My stomach churned. "This is your campsite? You've been in my house." Her silence was my answer. Rage flared, battling with the terror curling in my chest. Why? Why are you doing this to me?" Lisa stepped closer, her expression tight. "Because Anna was right about one thing, you don't deserve to control that money. It wasn't just Matthew's future, Sarah. It was supposed to help all of us. But you kept it locked away while the rest of us drowned." Her words cut deep, but I shook my head violently. "That money was for my son. Not for Anna. Not for you. For him." Lisa's voice broke, her eyes wet. "And he's gone. Just like Emma. But you don't understand, do you? We all lost something. We all suffered. And you sit in that big house acting like you're the only one who matters." My grip on the knife tightened. "So you stalk me? You break into my house? You put Emma's bear here." Lisa's gaze flicked to the toy on the ground. "That wasn't me." The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. "What?" "I've been watching you," she admitted, her voice trembling now. "But someone else has too. Anna hired him. I told her she was going too far, but she wouldn't listen. I swear, Sarah, I never wanted it to go this far." My mind spun. Two people. Two enemies. Working together but not entirely aligned. Anna had the intruder. Lisa had the campsite. And I was trapped in the middle. I took a shaky step back. "You're lying." Lisa reached out. Desperation etched across her face. "Sarah, please. I don't want you hurt. But if Anna finds out you're here, she'll..." A snap of a branch cut her off. Both our heads whipped toward the trees. A shadow moved closer, larger, broader. The intruder. His mask gleamed faintly in the lantern's glow. His steps deliberate as he entered the clearing. "Looks like we're all here," he said, his voice that same chilling whisper. Lisa stumbled back, her face pale. "You weren't supposed to." "Quiet," he snapped, cutting her off. His eyes locked on me. "You've been difficult, Sarah. But tonight it ends." I raised the knife, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. "Stay away from me." He took another step closer. Lisa screamed. "Run, Sarah. Run." I bolted, crashing through the trees, branches slashing at my face and arms. My lungs burned, my legs screamed, but I didn't stop. Behind me, footsteps thundered. Shouts echoed. I didn't know if it was Lisa or the masked man chasing me, but I knew one thing. If they caught me, I wasn't coming back alive. And then up ahead, through the blur of trees, a figure stepped out, blocking the path. It was Anna. Her smile spread in the moonlight as she whispered, "Going somewhere, sister?" Anna stood in the moonlit clearing like she'd been waiting for me all along. Her long coat swayed in the night breeze. Her lips curved in a smile that wasn't warm, wasn't sisterly, just sharp and cruel. "Going somewhere, sister?" she drawled, tilting her head. I froze, chest heaving, knife still clutched in my hand. Behind me, I could hear Lisa's frantic voice calling my name, and the crunch of heavier footsteps, the masked intruder, closing in. I was trapped, hemmed in by blood, betrayal, and greed. Get out of my way, Anna. I spat, though my voice shook. Her eyes flicked to the knife, then back to my face. Calm as stone. Do you even hear yourself? Running through the woods with a weapon. Accusing your own family. Hiding money that wasn't yours alone. Do you wonder why everyone thinks you've lost your mind? I shook my head violently, tears burning. This is about Matthew. About Emma. About respect. That trust fund was for him. You have no right. Anna stepped closer, her smile fading into something darker. No right? I carried you after Emma died. I paid for the coffin when you couldn't scrape it together. And when my own daughter needs help starting her life, you hoard every penny in Matthew's name. Money for a boy in the ground. Her words tore at me like claws. I wanted to scream, to hit her, to silence her cruel tongue. But before I could react, Lisa burst into the clearing. Anna, stop this, she shouted, her voice shrill with panic. She's had enough. Anna's face twisted. You weren't supposed to bring her here. She followed the trail herself, Lisa stammered, holding her hands out like she was begging for peace. This is going too far. You promised no one would get hurt. The masked man appeared seconds later, emerging from the shadows. He towered behind me, silent, his presence pressing against my back like a wall of iron. Anna's gaze cut toward him. Did you get it? He shook his head. She doesn't keep it on her. She's smarter than that. Anna's jaw tightened. Then we'll make her tell us. The air around me seemed to thin, the trees leaning closer, as though the forest itself was listening. My grip on the knife tightened until my knuckles turned white. You think I'll just hand it over? I hissed. After everything you've done? Anna's lips curved again, a cruel, knowing smile. You will. Because if you don't, we'll dig deeper into those secrets of yours. And we'll bury you with them. My stomach dropped. That note, the one left in my living room, flashed in my mind. We know your secret. I'd convinced myself it was about the trust fund. But Anna's tone made me wonder if she knew something else. Something I hadn't dared let anyone know. What secret? I whispered, my throat dry. Her smile widened. Oh, Sarah. You really thought you could hide it forever, didn't you? Poor Emma. Poor Matthew. If only the world knew the truth about what happened to them. Shut up. I screamed, lunging at her with the knife. Lisa Sriquez. Sara, no. But before the blade could reach Anna, the masked man grabbed my wrist midair. Twisting so hard I cried out. The knife clattered into the leaves. Pain shot up my arm as he shoved me to my knees, his grip like a vice. Anna crouched in front of me, her face inches from mine, her eyes glittering. That's better. On your knees, where you belong. Now listen to me, Sarah. You're going to tell us where the money is. Or we'll strip away every lie you've wrapped yourself in. We'll make the world see the truth about you. Lisa's face crumpled, tears streaking down her cheeks. Please, Anna, don't. This isn't what we planned. Anna shot her a glare so sharp it silenced her. Then she leaned in close, her breath hot against my ear. Tell us, Sarah. Tell us where the money is. My chest heaved. My heart hammered. My mind raced. And then, through the blur of fear, something inside me hardened. I wasn't going to let her win. I wrenched my knee upward with every ounce of strength left in me. The blow connected with the masked man's stomach. He grunted, loosening his grip just enough for me to twist free. I scrambled for the knife, fingers brushing the cold steel just as Anna lunged. We collided, tumbling into the dirt. Her nails clawing at my face, my hand clutching desperately for the weapon. Stop fighting, she screeched, her voice breaking into madness. Just give me the money. No. I screamed back, tears streaming, rage and grief boiling into one. It's not yours. It's not for you. The knife slid into my hand. I whipped it up instinctively, pressing the blade to her throat. Anna froze. Her chest heaved. Her eyes widened. Behind us, Lisa gasped. The masked man stepped closer, tension vibrating through the air. Do it. Anna whispered, her voice trembling but steady. Prove what we all say about you. Prove you're crazy. My hand shook violently. The blade pressed against her skin, drawing the faintest drop of blood. My heart pounded so loud I couldn't hear anything else. For one terrifying moment, I almost did it. Almost. But then Emma's face flashed in my mind. Her big eyes, her laugh, her innocence. I couldn't. I dropped the knife, choking back sobs, collapsing onto the dirt. I'm not like you, I whispered. I'll never be like you. Anna's smile returned, cruel and victorious. She reached down, snatching the knife, and rose to her feet. You should have finished it, Sarah. Because now I will. The masked man stepped forward, looming over me as Anna raised the knife high. And just as she swung downward, a gunshot ripped through the trees. Anna staggered, her eyes wide, the knife falling from her hand. She collapsed to the ground, blood blooming across her shoulder. The masked man spun around, startled, and from the shadows of the woods, a new figure emerged. A police officer, gun raised, shouting, "Nobody move." The gunshot echoed through the trees like thunder. Anna crumpled to the ground, clutching her bleeding shoulder, her scream tearing through the night. The masked man froze, his towering frame suddenly less certain under the red dot of the officer's gun. "Hands where I can see them," the officer barked, stepping into the clearing. His flashlight cut across the scene. Anna writhing in pain, Lisa sobbing, me on my knees in the dirt, blood and tears streaking my face. For a moment, I thought I was saved. But then the masked man moved. In one swift motion, he grabbed Lisa, yanking her against his chest, his arm locking around her neck like a vice. With his free hand, he pulled a gun from beneath his jacket, pressing it to her temple. The officer's beam swung wildly. "Drop the weapon." "Not a chance," the masked man growled. His voice was steady, cold. "One more step and she dies." Lisa whimpered, her arms flailing weakly as she tried to pull free. Her terrified eyes met mine for just a moment, pleading. I staggered to my feet, my voice hoarse. "Let her go. This is between you and me." He shook his head. "No, Sarah. This stopped being just about you the moment you hid that money. Now it's about leverage." The officer's stance faltered, sweat shining on his forehead. "Sir, listen to me." "Shut up," the man snapped, dragging Lisa backward toward the trees. "Nobody follows or she's dead." Anna groaned from the dirt, clutching her wound. "Don't let him go," she rasped. But I couldn't move. My legs were rooted, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard it hurt. I watched helplessly as the man vanished into the shadows, Lisa's muffled screams trailing after him. The officer cursed under his breath, lowering his gun. He glanced at me, his face pale. "Do you know who that is? Do you know what he wants?" I swallowed hard, my throat burning. "Yes. He wants me broken. And he won't stop until I am." We both looked down at Anna, who was half conscious, her blood soaking into the forest floor. Her lips curled in a faint, spiteful smile, even through the pain. "You'll never stop him," she whispered. "He's smarter than you think. He knows everything. He knows your secret." Her head lolled to the side, her eyes slipping shut. The officer knelt, checking her pulse, then called for backup on his radio. But my mind was spinning too fast to listen. Lisa was gone, dragged into the darkness by a man who had already promised to destroy me. And worse, he knew a secret I had sworn no one would ever uncover. I wrapped my arms around myself, shaking violently, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The woods seemed to close in, the shadows whispering my name. And then my phone buzzed in my pocket. With trembling fingers, I pulled it out. A new message. A photo. Lisa, tied to a chair, tape across her mouth, terror in her eyes. And beneath it, 6 words that sent me crashing to my knees. "Tell me the truth, or she dies." The message burned into my eyes. Lisa, bound to a chair, her face streaked with tears, the duct tape pressed cruelly against her lips. And those words beneath it. "Tell me the truth, or she dies." My stomach turned so violently I thought I might vomit. My knees dug into the dirt, the phone trembling in my hands. The officer crouched beside me. "What is it? What did he send?" I showed him the screen. His jaw clenched, his face hardening. "We need to track that number, fast." But I barely heard him. My ears buzzed, my mind spiraling. What truth? What secret was he demanding? I told myself it was about the money, about the trust fund. But Anna's words before she collapsed echoed like poison in my head. He knows everything. He knows your secret. There was only one other thing. The night Emma died. I had never spoken the full truth of it. Not to Anna, not to Lisa, not even to myself. People thought it was an accident. Some whispers suggested it was grief that blinded me. But I knew. I knew the role I played. My hands shook so badly I dropped the phone. I clutched my head, rocking back and forth, my breath ragged. I can't tell him. I can't. The officer grabbed my shoulders, steadying me. Listen. Whoever this man is, he's playing a game. He wants control. If you give him what he wants, he'll never stop. But if you hold out, he'll kill her. I snapped, tears spilling down my face. Do you want her blood on my hands too? The word too slipped out before I could stop it. The officer frowned but said nothing. His radio crackled. Backup was on its way, medics for Anna, a search team to comb the woods. But I knew in my gut that no team would find Lisa. Not unless I played by his rules. My phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, a video. I pressed play with trembling fingers. Lisa's muffled cries filled the screen. The masked man's voice followed, calm, deliberate. You have until tomorrow night, Sarah. Tell me the truth or she dies. No police. No games. Just you and your confession. The video ended. I felt hollow, like someone had scooped me out from the inside. The officer muttered something into his radio, but I was already walking away, clutching the phone like it was fused to my skin. My mind was screaming with two voices, Emma's laugh and the masked man's whisper. The truth. He wanted the truth. And I knew exactly which truth he meant. I made it back to my house before dawn. The broken window was still patched with cardboard, the furniture still piled against the doors. The place looked like a fortress built by someone who no longer believed in safety. I sat in the living room, the shadows long and heavy, Emma's bear in my lap. My lips brushed the matted fur as tears streamed down my face. Baby, I whispered. What do I do? Silence answered. Silence and the faint tick of the clock on the wall. But then the phone buzzed again. Another photo. Not of Lisa this time. Of Emma's grave. The dirt freshly disturbed. My scream tore through the empty house. The photo of Emma's grave burned into my vision. The soil was dark, freshly dug. As though someone had clawed open her resting place with their bare hands. My breath hitched, a scream lodged in my throat. No, not again. I whispered, my body trembling. I stumbled out of the house barefoot, the night air cold against my skin. My car keys rattled in my hands as I drove like a madwoman toward the cemetery. Every bump in the road jolted through me. Every shadow seemed alive. When I pulled up, the gates were half open, swaying in the wind. The cemetery was silent, bathed in a ghostly silver light. I ran, heart slamming, feet pounding the path until I reached Emma's grave. And froze. The photo hadn't lied. The earth was disturbed, mounded unevenly. The flowers I had laid now crushed beneath dirty footprints. My knees buckled, and I collapsed onto the soil, clawing at it with my hands as tears blinded me. Why? I sobbed. Why can't you leave her alone? A sound broke the silence, a faint crunch of gravel. I spun around, my chest heaving. A figure stood at the edge of the path, half hidden by the shadows of the trees. The masked man. He didn't move toward me. He just stood there, silent, his mask gleaming faintly in the moonlight. Watching. Waiting. Why are you doing this? I screamed, my voice cracking. She was a child. She's gone. Why are you tormenting her memory? His head tilted, slow and deliberate. Then he raised his hand, pointing directly at me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out with shaking fingers. A new message appeared on the screen. Confess here. On her grave. Or Lisa dies tonight. The phone slipped from my hands, landing in the dirt. My entire body shook, my throat tight with sobs. I stared at Emma's name carved into the stone, my lips trembling. Was this what he wanted? To drag me into the open, to make me bleed secrets into the soil of my daughter's resting place? The wind picked up, carrying the faint smell of earth and decay. I lifted my face to the sky and screamed. What truth? What do you want me to say? For the first time, the masked man spoke, his voice steady, chilling, echoing across the graves. The truth about the night she died. My heart stopped. He knew. The truth about the night she died. The words rolled through the graveyard like thunder. My chest tightened, and my knees buckled against the loose soil. I could barely breathe. No, I whispered, shaking my head. You don't understand. You don't know what you're asking. The masked man stepped forward, slow and deliberate, the crunch of gravel beneath his boots sharp in the silence. He stopped a few feet from Emma's grave, looming like some dark spirit. I know enough, he said. Enough to know it wasn't just an accident. Enough to know you've been lying. To yourself, to your family, to everyone who pitied you. Tears blurred my vision. Stop it. Stop. But he didn't stop. Tell me the truth, Sarah. Say it here. Or Lisa dies tonight. My whole body trembled. My eyes fell to the disturbed soil at my daughter's grave, and my throat closed up. The memories I had buried as deep as the coffin clawed their way back. That night. The rain. The fight. My words sharper than knives. Emma's little face, pale in the car's back seat, hearing every word I spat at her father. The screech of tires. The flash of light. And then, nothing but silence. I pressed my hands to my ears, rocking back and forth. No. The masked man crouched low, his voice dropping. Say it, Sarah. You were driving. You were the one who lost control. I froze. He knew. The secret I swore I would never let see daylight. That the crash wasn't just bad luck. That I had been behind the wheel, blinded by anger, not paying attention. That Emma's last moments had been shaped by my rage. A scream tore from my throat. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to hurt her. My fist slammed into the dirt, tears pouring down my face. I was angry, I wasn't looking, and then when I opened my eyes it was too late. The graveyard swallowed my confession whole. The night air stung my skin like fire. The masked man straightened slowly, his mask glinting under the moon. He pulled out his phone, raised it, and aimed the camera at me. You just confessed, he said, his voice calm, almost satisfied. And the world is going to hear it. Horror shot through me. My eyes darted to his phone, the red recording light flashing. My secret wasn't just between me and the dead anymore. It was captured, weaponized. No. I lunged at him, but he moved too fast, sidestepping with ease. His laughter, low cold, echoed through the cemetery as he backed away. I scrambled after him, clawing at his arm, but he shoved me down hard onto the dirt. My face hit the soil of Emma's grave, the taste of earth filling my mouth. By the time I looked up, he was already at the path's edge, the phone raised like a prize. Tomorrow, Sarah, he called out. Tomorrow the truth becomes everyone's to see. Then he vanished into the trees, leaving me collapsed against the disturbed earth, my sobs spilling into the night. And behind me, faint and guttural, came a sound that made my blood run cold. A coffin creaking.